Gonna go also live on YouTube in case you want to watch there. Hi, Titus Ruiz, Drawing Bard. Okay, so today I want to talk about kind of continuing from last week. I want to continue to talk about myth true sandwiches, and to give you kind of a recap. Hi, Senpai. Hey, Michelle. Hello. Hey, Emmanuel. Okay, so just to give you a recap, last week we talked about if you look at all my carousels or if you look at most of my content, the reason why my content make you say I never thought of it that way is because what I'm doing is I'm trying to break a myth with some sort of a truth that you agree on both. Hi, Chester. And what's going on is, and the way I explained it is, there's a conventional truth. Hi, Paya. And there's a conventional truth, which is what we've been taught, what we were brainwashed by society, by our parents, by our teachers, and things like that. And then there's a universal truth, which is the truth that we learn through experience, right? And when a conventional truth goes against the universal truth, and there's a conflict there, that's when people go, "Oh, I never thought of it that way," right? So that is like the whole concept of myth truth sandwich. So universal truth, and then hi Kashaf, great. So conventional truth and universal truth, right? So now, how do we do that? And we've been doing this exercise in Night Owl Nation for the last 2 weeks now. So we try to come up with a myth, and we try to come up with a contradicting example, which is the conventional truth, when we try to break it. So how do we do that? Is what we're talking about. And the truth is, the reason why this works is because, hi, Miss Ryder, how are you? Thank you. Praise. Psalmist, hello. Hey, Nikhil. Solve my space. Hi, Charlotte. Okay. The truth is, almost every advice out there can be a myth, because the reason why something is a myth and something is a conventional truth is because it is true. Certain things are true, right? But the thing is that most things in life are not true all the time. Most things in life are not true 24/7. Like, there are times when this is true, but there's times when that's not true. So almost every advice that you get can be debunked. Hi, Lydia. Hi, Rikia. Hi, Camilla. Hi, Rohit. Okay, so if you have what I want to do today is I want to kind of use some examples. So if you have common myth, if there's a common myth in your industry or common myth just in general in life, then you want me to debunk, you want me to turn into a myth true sandwich, just put it on the right here in the question tab. Just in your question tab, just put what is like a common myth that people believe in your line of work or in your job. UXIU, can you define myth first? Okay, so myth, basically in this case, what I'm talking about when I say myth is something that everybody believes is true, but it's not. Right? So here's a good example. So let me think of one. I had a good one before. Okay, so this is a common one that I always use, right? People say money is not going to make you happy. Now, that is a myth. Because people say making money is not going to make you happy. Now, that's something that everyone believes, right? Okay, of course not. Of course money is not going to make you happy, right? But nobody's actually sat down and really thought about it. Does money really not make you happy? Does making money really not make you happy? So something like that. That's that's an example of a myth in this case. Let me let me think about a even better one because I did have a better one that I forgot about. Let's see if I wrote it down. No, I don't have one. Sorry, sorry guys, I don't have one. Um, so if you have one, if you have a question for me, just go ahead and put it in the question tag. Hashtags are useless. Hashtags are useless is a myth. See that one is a little bit hard, right? Because see that's the thing about myth is in order for it to be a myth, like a lot of people have to believe that's true. So do put it in the chat if you guys can put it in the chat. Are in your opinion are hashtags useless or not? Just put it in the chat if you think hashtags are useless. Okay, first one. Jenny said, people say in business you have to fail in order to succeed. You have to fail in order to succeed. Okay, so is that a myth? 7%. I got 7% views from hashtags. It's not useless. Yeah, so I don't know if that is a myth. It's true. Yeah. So I mean, so it seems like most people, at least in the chat here, believe that hashtags are useful. They're not useless. So we need to make that distinction very clear. Because sometimes when we do this myth truth exercise, sometimes people will come and say, give me a myth. Like for example, like, hey, you know how how everybody thinks meditation is so hard? Well, I don't think that's true. I don't think most people think meditation is hard. I actually think a lot of people think meditation is easy. You know what I mean? Or if you say something like, "Oh, you know how you know like everybody like everyone thinks that starting a business is so hard." Well, I don't think everyone thinks that starting a business is so hard. I actually think that a lot of people think that starting a business is easy, and that's why so many people are starting businesses. So, in order for something to really be a myth, you have to make sure like that statement is not a bias. Because if, it might be something that you believe, but not most people. Okay. So let's go with this one right now. Jenny said people say in business you have to fail in order to succeed. So Jenny, can you put in the chat like an example? Like, okay, let's ask the chat. What do you guys think? Do you think in business you have to fail in order to succeed? Put in the chat if you agree with that statement. In business, do you have to fail in order to succeed? The thing is, now I'm starting to think, because there's like some conventional truth that we believe because we heard it so many times. But I also think that because Jenny, like from my experience, I actually believe that what that statement is the opposite. I actually think that people believe that. I think most people believe that. Most people believe that in order to you can't fail in order to succeed, right? So I don't know if that's a true. See, that this is one of those like tough situation, like because yes, if you go to a certain business circle, if we're in this like echo chamber of business gurus, entrepreneur gurus, and business coaches in this world, of Gary Vee, right? Yes, everybody's saying, oh yeah, in business you have to fail you have to fail to, like there's no success without failure, blah, blah, blah. We hear that motivational quote all the time, so we might believe that that saying is true, but is that really? I guess the here's the problem I have. For me, I think the myth is not always necessarily something that people say. Yes, I said that. Like it's like when people say, "Oh, you know how, like there's a saying that you need to fail in order to succeed." Yes, there is a saying, but I think it's really, really more powerful when the conventional truth is something that people actually believe in. So, for example, yeah, most people say that in business you have to fail in order to succeed. But how many people do you think actually believe that? Like, do most people actually believe that? Or are most people trying to do everything in their power not to fail? Right? So that's my problem with this myth is I actually think the myth is the other way around. Like most people believe that, you know, like I can't most people believe that if I fail, it's over. Maybe something like that. So let's try to reword this, right? Most people believe that if you fail, it's over. But maybe the truth is that actually no, the truth is that um something like you can't fail if you don't give up, or you can't fail if you don't quit. Something like that. Yeah, I know that wasn't really a good one, but yeah. I think that's one of those things that we need to, I think, have a more deeper discussion on. Okay, let's go to the next one. Yeah, so if you have any kind of myth truth example, or if you have a myth that you want me to talk about, just put it in the question tab over there. Hi Reggie. Hi Alfred. Hi Harsh. Okay, let's go to the next one. Katerina asks, "Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't." Better late than never. Okay, so these are all my examples. Okay. Okay, maybe I'll start with those. I'm gonna put I gave 8 examples. So I'm gonna read this and maybe it'll help you guys get some ideas. Okay. So first, don't judge a book by its cover, right? So most people say don't judge a book by its cover. But you know how when you watch a movie and you can kind of tell who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, just by looking at them, just by looking at the way their facial expression, the way they dressed and everything, just by kind of quick like looking at them, you don't even have to really get to know that person. But at a first glance, you can kind of tell, okay, this person's a bad guy, this person's a good guy, right? Or you can kind of tell, when somebody, let's say you're a boss, you're a business owner, and you're interviewing for a job, and somebody comes in for an interview, and this person is dressed all sloppy, like you can clearly tell that they didn't really take care of themselves, and they're like kind of sloppy looking, right? Like they didn't, their hair is all messed up, and that they obviously didn't put a lot of thought into their appearance. Do you think like that person will be detail oriented? Do you assume that person will be detail oriented, or do you assume that that person would be very sloppy in their in other areas of their life, right? So I'm going to say the whole thing over again. So people say don't judge a book by its cover, but when you watch a movie, you can kind of tell who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, just by kind of looking at them. And when you're interviewing somebody, just by how they're dressed, like how sloppy they are, you might just jump to a conclusion that, oh, this person is not going to be very detail oriented, or he might be a little bit sloppy. And we make these judgments. And there's even a study that says like, that if you're better looking, if you're like good looking people, get less sentencing, like when it comes to like in court, like when you're, you know, like what do you call that? Yeah, when people get prosecuted in court, better looking people get less sentencing than like uglier people get more harsh sentencing, because for some reason the jury finds, if you're better looking, jury thinks that you're more innocent, and if you're, you know, more uglier, the jury thinks that you're less innocent. So the truth is, yes, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but you should know that everyone else is judging you by your cover or based on your looks or something like that. Does that make sense? Okay. Next one is don't cry over spilled milk. Okay. I had that one too. Okay, don't cry over spilled milk. People say don't cry over spilled milk. But so you all heard that, like, oh, don't cry over spilled milk. Just let it go, you know, just let it go, or something like that. Be grateful, or whatever it is, right? But you know how some people make the same mistake over and over and over again, and they never learn the lesson. Like they keep making the same mistake over and over, and it's because they never care about the spilled milk. Because every time they make a mistake and something goes wrong, they're like, "Oh, don't cry over spilled milk. Oh, it's okay. What happened happened." So they're not actually sitting and reflecting on what they did wrong, and they're not. So the truth is, yes, you shouldn't cry over spilled milk, but you should definitely reflect on what you did wrong so you can learn a lesson from it. So maybe the truth is, don't cry over spilled milk doesn't mean don't just ignore it or something like that, right? Okay, next one, last one. Better late than never. Okay. Did I have that one? Better late than never? I don't think I had that. Yeah, maybe you guys can try to debunk this one. So put in the chat. First of all, I think most people have heard of the saying better late than never, right? Now let's try to debunk that. So put in the chat, give me one example of a case where it's not better late than ever. It's actually like you know, it's like, yeah, give me an example of one scenario where that is not true, where better late than never is not true. Let's do that as an exercise. Okay. Let's go to the next one in the meantime. Everyone has trauma. See, here's another one that I don't see. When you're living in this echo chamber, yeah, that's a good shit in your pants better. Okay, so here's the thing. A lot of us tend to make this mistake, right? If you're, let's say you're in, yeah, food before expiration date. Okay, like for example, like let's say if you're getting on a flight, right? if you need to catch a flight and the flight leaves at a certain time, it's not better late than never, right? It's actually, you know, it's once you're late, it's basically same as never, right? There are certain things in life where it's not better late than never. So, you know, maybe something like that. Like for example, if you want to have like, let's say you're telling yourself, oh, I don't want to have a baby right now because you know, I'm gonna wait. Better late than never, right? But then no, at a certain age, you can't have a baby anymore, just biologically, right? So that's not better late than never. So there are certain things in life that's not better late than never, or maybe something like that. Okay, but let's go back to this one. So see, what I'm gonna say is this. I think we tend to live in a bubble, especially in this modern society where you're only consuming content from people that you care about, like the type of people that you care about. So if you're a marketer, like if you're an entrepreneur like me, right? Yeah, we're gonna keep hearing like, oh yeah, you have to fail in order to succeed, right? These kind of the same, oh, like it's the you need to find your why and all of this myth that we believe that is a myth. We believe because we hear it all the time. We hear it all the time. I remember somebody telling me one day that, oh, you know how everyone thinks yoga is hard? Yeah, only yogis think that yoga is hard. Nobody that doesn't practice yoga, if you're not a yogi, nobody that's not doing yoga or have never done yoga before thinks that yoga is hard. If you're not a yogi, and I look me, let's say before I did yoga, I look at somebody doing yoga, I'm like, oh, that's stupid. That's easy. That's you just lying on the floor and stretching. Like most people think yoga is not hard. But people who do practice yoga, yogis, think that it's hard, right? So therefore, if you're a yogi, you might think that the myth is yoga is hard, but that doesn't mean it's true. Most people don't think yoga is hard, right? So see, when you say everyone has trauma, right? The only people that I think that believes that everyone has trauma are therapists, life coaches, like people that are working in that industry, right? Like people that are working in that health, like mental health space, are the only people that believe that, oh, everyone has trauma. If I go out in the street and ask 100 random strangers, hey, do you believe everyone has trauma? Hey, do you believe everybody has trauma? I guarantee you, most people are going to be like, what? No, I don't have trauma. What are you talking about? Do you understand what I mean? So we need to be super, super careful about, is this a biased belief that I have that I believe is a myth? Or is this really true? Like, do people really say everyone has trauma? I actually think if you really think about it from that perspective, you'll see it the other way. It's actually the other way, where people think that only people that went through some crazy tragic event has trauma, but the reality is everyone has trauma. Do you understand what I mean? That makes more sense to me. So that's the thing, right? Maybe this is a point that I need to cover. So here's the reason why your content doesn't resonate with anyone. So many people come to me and say, hey, my content is so good, but nobody cares, nobody's liking it, and it doesn't get views, and blah blah blah. It's because you think the content is good. Nobody else thinks the content is good. Do you understand what I mean? And the reason why you think it's good is because you have this narrow view of, oh, everyone has trauma. Like you're speaking this language of expert, right? Like, because the only people that say everyone has trauma are other therapists and other experts. They're the only ones that are saying it. So for a normal person like me, right, or just everyday average people look at that, they're going to be, what are you talking about? They're not going to be able to relate, and therefore you're going to lose them. So in order for you to make content that people are going to resonate with, you have to bring yourself down to everyone else's level. If you're an expert in that area and you're talking about this content, then nobody's going to get it. But so you got to bring yourself down to, what does an average person think? An average person. Does average person who's not a therapist, who's never went to a life coaching, who's just a normal everyday person, do they believe that it's trauma? Crew, can you put that in the question tab? So I don't lose it. Okay. Yeah, if you can add that into the question tab right here, just so that we don't lose it. Okay, let's go to the next one. Define love. Define love is not, I don't know if that's is that a myth? Define love. Yeah, I don't know. But I do know that there's like a lot of uh I think there is a lot of myth truth to that word love, right? So for example, you know, because I think this is my personal belief. I feel like there's two types of love, right? There's selfless love, and then there's selfish love. And in my opinion, selfish love is not really love. It's the selfish love is more like infatuation or greed, or I don't know. I don't know what that is, but it's not, in my opinion, the real love is like selfless love, right? So what do I mean by that? For example, like when a parent loves a child, right? That's a selfless love. They're doing things for the child. They're saying something to them because they actually love them and they care about them, right? It's not because that I want something in return. Like, but here's the thing. You might say, "Oh, I love apple pie," or I love pizza. Like, that's a more selfish love, right? Like, because or here's one I heard. Like, when you say, "Oh, I love chicken," right? Well, if you really love chicken, you wouldn't kill it and eat it, right? That's a selfish love. Like, if you just think about it, right? Like, when you say I love chicken, there's two ways you can love chicken. You can love chicken because out of a selfless love, and you can try to take care of your chicken, make sure that chicken has a great life, and make sure that chicken is happy and all of that. That's the same kind of love. But you can love chicken, where I say I love eating chicken, so I'm gonna kill that chicken, I'm gonna cook it, and I'm gonna eat it, right? I mean, you can say that about both things, but it means two completely different things, right? So that's what I mean by you can have selfless love and you can have selfish love, right? And I think in relationships, so now let's bring it down to relationships, right? Let's say, oh, I love my wife or I love my husband, right? When you say that, there's two ways that you can actually look at that. Some people, and actually this is just from my this is just from my experience, and this is just my opinion, okay? I'm not a relationship expert. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not any of those things. This is just my personal opinion, okay? I see some people that are chasing relationship from a very selfless place, right? So I've seen couples where, I don't know if you heard this story, but there's an old fable where there's a couple whose wedding anniversary was coming up, right? And and they're a poor couple and they don't have a lot of money. But because they love each other so much, what the wife did, what the husband did, the husband had a watch with an old watch, what do you call it? The band. And what he did was he sold his watch in order to buy a beautiful hair comb for his wife, right? As a gift, as a wedding anniversary gift. But what the wife did was the wife cut her hair and sold her hair in order to buy a watch band for her husband, right? So basically, like, he sold his watch to buy a hairbrush for his wife, and she sold her hair to watch a hairband. So do you see what I mean? They were both they were both sacrificing something of their own because they love the other person and they wanted to do something for the other person, right? So that's how I would look at a true love, right? If you're in a good relationship where you really love each other, it's not about, oh, what are you gonna get me for my birthday? Oh, what are you gonna do for me? Oh, like, oh, he's not good enough. She's not good enough. Oh, she's, I can find someone better. I can do better, right? It's not like that. It's like, what can I do for you? How can I selflessly give love to you, right? So those are two completely different kind of love. But then I also see people like the latter, right? Like I said, some people go into a relationship and they're like, and it's the reason why I think the modern kind of internet dating has completely ruined relationships. It was because with the internet dating, what does that do? When you're on Tinder, right? When you're on Tinder, when you're on Bumble, when you're on these dating apps, what do these dating apps do, right? They make relationships all about me. I need to find the perfect person for me. Oh, this person's not tall enough. Oh, this person's job is not good enough. Oh, this person is not pretty enough. Whatever it is, like it's we're turning the whole relationship selfish, right? Or something like that. So I believe, I believe that. Well, I'll just leave it at that because you just said divine love. So I don't know what that really means, but I don't want to keep ranting. Okay, let's move to the next question. Ikru, what are the key points to look for in the story content? How to deconstruct it and replicate? Well, I mean, I think I'm doing it right now, right? For me, first of all, it's okay. If you really, really, really want to get into it, that question that you just asked is literally what we do at Night Owl Nation. Like literally what we do at Night Owl Nation. We try to figure out what a story is and how to break it down and how to keep coming up with new stories and things like that, right? But oh yes, thanks, Carolina. If you have questions, please put it in the question tab, not in the chat. But I'm gonna give you kind of on a high level a simple answer. At Night Owl Nation, the way we tell stories, there's two different ways we tell stories. From a personal experience, so we go back in our life and we try to think about what are some of the aha moments, what are some of the lessons that we learned in life. What's an event that happened and then I learned the lesson, right? So to really, really, really simplify, maybe I was a child, there was this hot mug and I touched it and I burned myself. And from that point on, I learned that I should be careful when I grab something because it can be hot or something like that, right? So that's like a simple format, but it works. If you want to like apply that to your business, it could be something like, I used to think that like as a salesperson, I have to sell, and talk about myself. But then I went into this meeting where somebody was just talking about themselves the whole time to me. And I felt like that person didn't sell me at all because I felt like they didn't understand me. They didn't care about me because all they wanted to do was talk about themselves. That's when I realized that selling is not about just talking about yourself, but asking questions about the other person, right? So that there's a story where I used to think this until this event happened. And then now I think this. So here's the myth I used to believe. Here's the truth that I learned. And in between is what is the story that happened? What is the thing that happened in my life that made me go from here to here? Got it? So that's kind of how you tell a personal story. Now, a lot of the storytelling that I do in my carousels they're not personal stories. They're not things that personally happened to me. They're just myth truth sandwiches, but it's the same concept. Here's a myth, here's the truth, and what comes in between, right? So for example, myth, chasing money is not going to make you happy. Truth, actually the act of chasing money alone can make you happy. What's the example? You ever play Monopoly? Because when you play Monopoly and you're going there and you have like how much money in the bank, and you're like every time you pass go you get another $200, and then you buy this street, you buy another street, and then once you buy another street, then you can buy a house, and then you can upgrade the house to a building, and every time that somebody stops there, they gotta give me more money, I gotta collect money, right? That whole literally the act of collecting money and building wealth is fun. It's so fun that people pay money to buy that game and they play with their friends, right? So it's not true that chasing money is not going to make you happy. Yes, it can make you happy if that's your job. So that's an example of a myth truth sandwich, right? So those are the two kind of structures that we use for storytelling at Night Owl Nation. Now there's it gets much deeper, right? It's not as simple as that. There's a lot of things that you have to learn and practice in order to achieve that. But on the highest level, that's basically what storytelling is. Okay, let's move to the next one. Ivy Elites myth: you will feel lonely when traveling alone. That's a good one. I don't know. See, can you put in the chat, Ivy? Can you put in the chat? Can you give me an example of how that is not true? Give me an example that will prove to me that traveling alone is not lonely, or something like that, right? Because I can't really understand it. Maybe it's something like this. Let me, because I've never traveled alone, right? So here's the thing: when you do this myth truth sandwich, it's really hard to break a myth. It's really hard to debunk a myth, or it's really hard to do this myth truth sandwich if you yourself have not personally experienced it already, right? So don't even bother trying to come up with the myth truth sandwich or try to debunk a myth when you haven't even learned the lesson. Like it's what I said yesterday, right? Don't try to teach lessons that you haven't learned in your own life, because when you do it, it's not going to work. Like the reason why lessons work is because you've experienced it, and you, from your personal experience, you know how to explain it in a way that makes sense, right? So here, I'm going to try to take a crack at this one. You will feel lonely when traveling alone. I can't put it into like a one liner, but I'm going to try to kind of ramble and give you my thought process behind this. You know, like a lot of us think that when we're alone, that means it's lonely, right? And when we're with a group of people, that you're not lonely, right? But imagine you're in a group of people. Imagine you're like you're getting bullied, and you're in a, or let's not even use that far extreme of an example. Let's say you're in a group of people in school with your friend, or like in a friend group, but these are all fake friends. They're not real friends. You're just, or let's say you go out to lunch with your coworkers, and these coworkers are not your friends. Okay, they're just colleagues. They're just, they're just people that you talk about the weather with, right? They're not really your friends. Okay, now you might go out to lunch with them, and they might always be talking about weather or something else that you're not interested in at all, and that could be the loneliest feeling in the world, right? And I know this because, sometimes, like, here's the thing: imagine somebody just broke up with you, or imagine you just lost your job and you're feeling devastated, and you go out with your friends, and your friends are trying to cheer you up, and they're having fun, they're trying to like make it all fun, but you're sitting there depressed because you just, like, you just got dumped or you just got fired, right? There's nothing that's going to make you feel lonelier than that, because even though we are with your group of friends, they're trying to cheer you on. They're not sharing the same emotion with you, right? They're all trying to be happy, and they're all trying to, like, fake this thing. But you're just sitting there, you're like, you're just trying to, like, oh yeah, but deep inside you're feeling devastated because you just lost your job, or you just lost your girlfriend, or whatever it is, right? So you can be with a lot of group of people, and you can still feel lonely as fuck. At the same time, do you know how, like, sometimes you just want to be left alone? Like, when you're just around people all the time, sometimes you just need to, like, step away. Sometimes we do this. It's like, oh, I need some alone time, right? I need to be by myself right now, right? Because when you're around social settings for too long, you might feel like, oh, in order for me to feel less lonely, I actually need to be alone, right? So I think here's the thing. So I guess this is what I'm trying to say. I think loneliness is not defined by how many people you're with or you're alone. I think whether you're alone or you're with people has nothing to do with loneliness. I think loneliness actually has to do with, is it voluntary or is it involuntary? So, for example, if I'm alone because I just want you to leave me alone, and I just need some alone time. I need to be by myself right now, and I'm in solitude. Like, I think that's called more like solitude, right? Where maybe I'll go on vacation by myself, or maybe I need to just sit in my room and just be alone, right? I need to be alone and work on this thing or whatever it is. If I'm voluntarily being alone because I just want to be alone, that's not lonely, right? But let's say you don't want to be alone. You do want to, be with other people, socialize, but there's nobody to socialize with, or there's nobody to be with. So you're alone, but not by choice. I think that's kind of where loneliness happens. So something like that, maybe. I don't know. I probably didn't answer that correctly, but maybe you can work with that one. Like, I personally cannot come up with an example because I've never traveled alone, and I actually love being alone. I don't really like people, so I love being alone. So yeah, I can't really resonate with people that are saying, oh, like it's lonely when you're alone, because I've never once felt lonely when I was alone. The only times when I felt lonely is when I feel like I've been rejected. So maybe it's something like that. Maybe loneliness has nothing to do with being alone, but loneliness has to do with the feeling of being rejected by someone, or being rejected by a group of people. Maybe that's what loneliness really is, because I 100% don't feel like, at least for me, I love being alone. I love sitting in my room by myself and just like working on stuff. I love watching TV by myself. I love doing things by myself. So, okay, Dickens, put your questions in the question tab. Okay, Sam Jenkins asked, "What kind of equipment do you use for your content?" Okay, I have if you go on my Instagram stories, I have my Instagram story highlights, with those circles. I have a highlight called video tutorials, and that tutorial has like it shows all the equipments that I use. But basically, I use Riverside to, like, I have a Sony camera that's connected to my laptop, and then I have this mic, and I use Riverside to record all my podcasts, and my video editors will take all of my podcast episodes, and they'll cut it into little short clips, and then they'll upload it. For all my carousels, I use either Sketch or Figma to design my carousels. So, I mean, that's kind of the gist of it. But if you go to I have a tutorial called video tutorial and photo tutorial in my Instagram highlights, my story highlights. So if you go through that, I have a tutorial that shows exactly what I use. And if you're a Night Owl Nation member, I also have inside Night Owl Nation, there's a whole tutorial on equipment for podcasts and video podcasts and things like that. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Has the selling your knowledge through an Instagram funnel bubble popped? No. This is what I think. The GOV. So I think selling your knowledge is not the problem. And I actually think the problem is manipulative marketing, right? Because I think there are plenty of people who sell knowledge, and it's legit. So for example, like, if somebody wrote a book, like here's one. Here's a book by Stephen Pressfield. Put your ass where your heart wants to be. And there are plenty of books that I paid $30 for, and I read and I got information. There are plenty of I've taken courses on Skillshare where I needed to learn how to use some software, right? Let's say you want to learn how to use Photoshop, and you take some sort of a online course that teaches you Photoshop. I think that knowledge is not a problem, right? I want to know how to use this software. There's this online course that teaches you how to use that software, and you're trading. They're saying, okay, it's a $150 course, and you say, okay, I'll pay $150 in order to take that course so I can learn, right? Or like Rosetta Stone or something, right? Where some program that's going to teach you how to speak English or something like that, or learn a new language. I think that's not the problem. For me, the problem comes when that person who's teaching you a Photoshop, instead of saying, I'm going to teach you how to use Photoshop, and I'm going to teach you design tips so you can become a better designer. No problem, right? I'm going to teach you how to build an online course, and I'm going to teach you how to do Instagram marketing, so you know how to use Instagram. And by the end of this course, you're going to learn how to use Instagram, how to create content, and how to do this. No problem. The problem comes for me when how there's like this saying that says, don't sell the feature, sell the outcome, right? Sell the result. And which is fine. Yes, you should sell this result, because people say, people don't buy a drill, they buy the hole. They buy the drill because they need a hole, right? Like, they don't buy the drill because they need a drill. They buy the drill because they need a hole. Now, fine, but then the way to sell that outcome should be like, by end of this course, you're gonna know how to do this in Photoshop, right? But my problem comes when you say, oh, by doing this, you're going to be able to quit your 9-to-5 job and get freedom and work from the beach, and like, you're going to have financial freedom, and you're going to have, like, you can get, like, here's the thing that I hate about the spiritual world, especially because I remember, like, I don't know if people still do this now, but like, people used to say, get anything you want, right? You can achieve anything you want in life. Or like Abby used to say, be the happiest person you know, right? Like, what? Like, don't sell that result. Don't be like, oh, buy this course in order to have financial freedom, right? Or like a lot of Tony Robbins seminars are like this, right? You like, change your life, like, come to this seminar and change your life, right? Like, here's the problem with that. Let's really look at the numbers. If 1,000 people take that course, out of that 1,000 people, how many of them actually have financial freedom? How many people actually change their life? How many people actually do that, right? So there's this whole kind of fake guru, this manipulative marketing, this kind of predatory marketing industry can be fixed like that. You know how it can be fixed? If they make it illegal to false advertise like that. I think here's an easy, super easy way to fix this. I think the FTC, the Trade Commission, should make it so that it's illegal to make a claim unless you say how many percentage of your students has that result. So, for example, if you're going to say, okay, this person took my course and now they're making 6 figures, okay, because of my course. Fine. If that person really did make 6 figures from taking your course, yes, you say that. But what by law, what they should do, what they should make the law is they should say what percentage of the students who took that course also made six figure because of the course. Because if that was the case, the whole game is rigged. Like the whole game, the jigs is up. It doesn't work anymore, right? Because a lot of these courses where if you say, oh, we've had 10,000 students, right? And those are the same people say, oh, this student made six-figure launch. Oh, this student made $250,000 last year because of my course. Okay, so out of those 10,000 students, how many students actually made $250,000 because of your course? Because if you put it that way, that number is going to be tiny. It's going to be like 5%, maybe 10%, probably not even, right? But they know that if they put that number there, nobody's going to actually buy the course, right? If I tell you that, oh yeah, if you buy my course for $2,000, you can have a six-figure launch. But I just want to tell you that 90% of people who take my course don't have a six-figure launch, but 10% do. Like, would you still buy that course for $2,000? Probably not, right? So that's where my problem is. It's not the selling your knowledge is fine. You can sell knowledge all you want, but the manipulating, saying it to make it seem like the result is there. Yeah, they say results are not typical, right? Here's the problem with that. Yeah, I do see some sites that say results are not typical, but it's like so fucking tiny in the bottom that people don't even see it. Like, and it's like, to me, I guess it's kind of like that, right? Are you purposely trying to manipulate, or are you doing it? Here's a good one. Here's a good. I'll give you an example. That's something small, but I think it's relevant, right? So I worked in software, and I worked in I work with a lot of like subscription model businesses, right? And one of the tactics that people use, especially like when they're selling courses or something like that, where it's information, because once you buy an information, it's like, how do you know, right? It's not a tangible product, so it's like it's hard to just return something, right? Like if I buy a MacBook and I'm not satisfied, I can just return it, right? But with the informational product, it's different, right? So what a lot of businesses do is they say, oh, 100% money back guarantee, or you can cancel anytime or something like that, right? But they make it difficult for you to get your money back. Do you understand what I mean? Like, companies do this. They say, let's say they had a faulty product and they had to do a recall. What they'll do is, okay, in order for you to get your recall, or in order for you to get your refund, go to this website, fill this out, print it out. You got to fill it in, and you got to mail it in, and you have to wait, and you have to blah, blah, blah. So most people don't want to go through the fucking hassle of doing all of that just to get their $50 back or whatever it is. So most people are not going to do it. And you see this kind of like in the beginning of the movie Fight Club. Like, that was that guy's whole job is to see how many people are actually going to take you up on the recall. And if how many people are going to go out of their way to put in all that work just to get a refund, right? Not many, right? So a lot of businesses, what they do is they bank on that. And they say, oh, yeah, 100%, here's my online course. If you don't like the course for any reasons, 100% money back guaranteed. But then in the fine print, you find out in order for you to get your money back, you have to prove that you took all the courses, you took all the lessons, and you have to prove that you put this into action. And you have to do all this work to prove to them that it didn't work, right? So they're basically saying like, no, I'm not going to give you money back, right? Or something like cancel anytime, but they make it impossible. Like, just go to Amazon.com and try to delete your account. It's like literally you can't even find it. Like, try to delete your Facebook account. It's impossible. They make it so fucking complicated and so hard for you to cancel, right? So that's another thing. Is it really cancel anytime? But if you make it so hard for people to cancel, so that's kind of my thing, right? Yeah, that at the very least level, that is still manipulating. You're still using the cancellation policy and refund policy to scam people, basically. And then, but then you obviously it's a scale, right? You can be manipulating people at this level, you can be manipulating people at that level, but a lot of the things that we do in business are manipulative. Their only goal is to raise profit. So it's kind of hard to say, but that I believe that that's the reason why um scams will never go away. Like charlatans, scams, um fake gurus, all these things will never it's part of being, it's part of what being human is, right? We have survival instinct, we're selfish, we have, just like that book Selfish Gene. So people are going to exploit others, people are going to manipulate others in order for their own benefit, to make money for themselves, and that's always going to happen, and there's always going to be scams, and at the end of the day, people who do that are not going to last. I mean, in the long run, it's not a good long-term strategy, because at some point people are going to find out if you are. Okay. Success comes overnight. Yeah, I guess that could be a myth. So, but it's not like success comes overnight for most people, because I don't think most people believe that they're going to be successful overnight. But maybe it's something like this. When you watch some people, right? Like when you look at someone like Mozart, who wrote a symphony when he was like whatever, fucking 9 years old or whatever, like that. I don't know. And when you see somebody like, you know, Taylor Swift or Justin Bieber, who looks like he blew up overnight, or right? Most people that you think that blew up overnight, that had overnight success, was actually, they've been working on it for years and years and years. You just don't know that, right? So it's something like this, yeah. Like, it might seem, the myth is that for some people, they have overnight success because of luck, or they have overnight success because of talent. Oh, here's one. So that the successes comes overnight is a little bit broad, but here's one. They say that some people are naturally gifted. Some people are just have naturally genius in something that, they're gonna be overnight success, or nobody's gonna be able to catch up to them. Like, some people are just naturally talented and genius at something, right? Now, I'm gonna debunk that one. For example, like Tiger Wood, right? Tiger Wood is just naturally a fucking golf, like he's like a golf genius. Like, nobody can beat him, right? Or Michael Jordan, right? Or somebody like they say the same thing about Mozart, that Mozart was a genius because, like, he wrote his first symphony when he was like 9 or 12 years old, or whatever it is, right? But here's what they don't tell you. The only reason, it's not because Mozart is naturally a genius talent. It's because Mozart has been playing music since he was 3 years old. Tiger Woods has been playing golf since he was 3 years old, and their father had forced them and fucking, like, like was brutal and very disciplined them into fucking practicing every single day ever since they were 3 years old. And that's the reason why they're geniuses. That's the reason why they seem like they're naturally talented, but it's not that they're naturally talented. It's just that they've been doing it longer than you. So there's a myth to sandwich. So this is gonna be the last question, by the way, and I gotta run. Myth: success comes by hard working. Success requires so you have to work hard in order to succeed. Okay, I have a good one. So this is a debate. This is something, like, if you look at a lot of these, like, people that are kind of entrepreneur work, like people that are entrepreneurs, people that are like kind of more conservative, like business oriented people, they always say this, like, you got to pull yourself up by the bootstrap. The super capitalist people tend to say this, right? They say, you just got to work hard and you just got to be responsible, and you got to put in the work, and then this is the land of opportunity, US, and anybody can make it as long as you work hard, right? Well, here's the flaw in that statement. Like, there are some people who maybe for whatever reason, maybe they're just like they have a learning disability or something like that, that no matter how much they work, they're just never gonna do that good in school, right? So, for example, there are people out there who works 2-3 jobs. There are people who work 3 jobs. There are people who work their ass off, and you can clearly see that they're working their ass off, but they can't seem to get out of that. They can't seem to get out of that situation, right? So, and that's like, I guess, most of people. So, yeah. So some people are asking, like, how do you define success? Well, it doesn't matter how do you define it. Success is like, whatever you need to do in order to achieve that thing, that's success, whatever you want to achieve, right? So if it's in relationship, maybe the success is like you finding somebody you truly love, right? But if it's like money, then making money, right? If it's making an impact in the world, that's how much impact did you make in the world. It doesn't really matter what success is, but like, do you have to work hard to get it, right? Do you have to work hard to get in the relationship that you want to be in? Do you have to work hard to make money if that's your success? Do you have to work hard to make an impact if that's your success, right? Yeah. So for some people, success is money. Some are families, honor. Yes, all of that is true. Success is subjective, but doesn't matter. You still need to work at it. You don't just, let's say success was family. You don't just have amazing family success in family by doing nothing. You still have to work at it, right? Let's say for you, success is relationship, great relationship. You have to work on that relationship, right? Let's say your success is happiness. You have to work on. You don't just automatically become happy. You have to work on it. So it doesn't matter what your definition of success is. In order to achieve that success, you still have to work on it. You know what I mean? But right now, what we're trying to debunk is that really true? Yes. So I'll end it with this. The truth is never the opposite of myth. The truth is always somewhere between the myth. Here's the myth. Here's the opposite of myth. Truth is somewhere in between. So if you say success comes by hard working, that's one thing. And maybe somebody else believes that success has nothing to do with hard work, that it has everything to do with luck and talent or something like that, right? Well, it's somewhere in between. Like, yeah, you need to have some luck, you need to have some talent, you need to have some you need to work hard, you need to work smart, right? You need to be more efficient, but you also need to work hard. Do you know what I mean? There's no way. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how efficiently you work. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how lucky you are. If you're lazy, you're not going to succeed. That's a guaranteed. Because like I know a lot of smart people, a lot of talented people who fail. But I don't know a lot of people that work hard fail. So I think if I was to pick one, I think work hard is more important. It's kind of like that old story, the tortoise and the hare, like where the turtle is like going slow and the rabbit's fast. And I see this happening over and over and over again in life, where people that are like really smart, people that are really talented, the people that are like geniuses, they have a huge ego. So what ends up happening is they don't try as hard. Like the smartest people I know never try as hard. The most talented people are usually some of the laziest people that I know, because they're like, oh, I don't need to study. I don't need to study. I always get A anyway. Oh, I don't need to prepare. I can nail this. So a lot of times, because they're so used to not having to work hard to get what they want, they don't work as hard. But the ones that are not as talented, I noticed, they work so much. They work harder and they put in the practice and do that because they need to. So what ends up happening is, usually that's why the turtle ends up winning. Usually the ones that are like at the disadvantage ends up winning, because they just outwork they outwork the talented person. They outwork the genius or something like that. All right, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Um, I think I rambled a lot. I don't know if I made a lot of sense today, but thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. I'll see you all next Thursday. And yeah, maybe send me a DM or something like that, or I'll put up a poll. I want to see what topic you want me to talk about, or what topic you want me to answer questions on. So we'll do that for next week. Bye, everyone. Peace.